My name is Danielle Anderson, and I'm a dietetic intern with Maricopa County Department of Public Health. Today I'm going to talk about reading and using a nutrition fact label, also known as a food label. Every food that comes in some sort of package or box is required to have a food label. These labels provide all sorts of information about the amount of food provided, the nutrients in the food, and the ingredients used to make the food. We can use nutrition fact labels to make decisions about what kind of food to eat and to understand how much we are eating. We can use these labels to learn how many nutrients a food provides based on how much we eat in a day. And because labels list ingredients, we can see if a food contains something we're allergic to. So let's take a closer look. As of January 21st, all food labels were required to make some changes. So we should first look at what those changes are. First is the servings per container and serving size. Serving size provides the amount suggested we eat at a given time, and servings per container tells us how many servings are in the package. Next, we see calories, and you might notice how this section is really made to stand out in the new label. Calories are listed per serving unless the entire package is the serving. For example, the label on this can of Coke now has calories listed per can. It used to say a can provided 2 servings, but they changed it to a single serving because most people are likely to consume an entire can instead of saving some for later after opening. Next, under carbohydrates, we see a line that says total sugars. The new label requires added sugars to be clearly marked. This way we can tell how much sugar has been added and how much is naturally in the food. Also, it is suggested that women and children limit their added sugar intake to 24 grams and men limit theirs to 36 grams per day. In this example, we can see that only 2 grams of sugar are natural and that 10 grams have been added during processing. Lastly, the vitamins and minerals must include the actual amount along with percent daily value. Vitamin D, potassium, calcium, and iron are all required to reflect the nutrients we sometimes don't get enough of. Other vitamins can also be listed as well. Okay, time for a quick review. I'm going to give you some time to answer a couple questions. Number 1, how can we use nutrition fact labels? Go ahead and take a minute and think about that. So just a couple answers to make decisions about what we eat, to understand how much we are eating, to learn which nutrients are provided, and to see if we are allergic. Okay, number 2, why must added sugars be noted specifically on the label? Answer, to clearly show the difference between added and natural sugars, and to note that there are suggested sugar limits, 24 grams for women and children, 36 grams for men. Number 3, why are vitamin D, potassium, iron, and calcium the vitamins that must be included on the label? Answer, they are the vitamins we most likely don't get enough of in our daily diet. Okay, let's move on. So now that we know what a food label is and why we use it, we're going to get into the most important part, and that's how to use the information it provides us. Let's start with serving size because, again, this is arguably the most important part of a nutrition fact label. Serving size not only suggests how much of a food to eat, it tells us how many vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients our body will take in based on the amount we do eat. On this label, the serving size is 2/3 cup or 55 grams by weight. If I eat 1 serving, all of the nutrients shown are what my body will take in. So you can see total fat is listed as 10% or 8 grams. Vitamin D is listed as 10% or 2 micrograms. And iron is listed as 45% or 8 milligrams, and so on. But if I choose to eat more or less than the suggested amount, this changes the amount of nutrients. And this is where the amount of servings in a package matters. Take this box of macaroni and cheese, for example. It has 2.5 servings per container. And this means if I choose to eat the whole box, I have to multiply all of the nutrients by 2.5. So that would mean the 230 calories becomes 575. The 160 milligrams of sodium becomes 400 milligrams. And the 8 grams of fat becomes 24 grams of fat. Or I can just eat the serving size and get the exact amount of nutrients listed. Now let's take a look at calories. Calories are the amount of energy provided by a food. This amount can help us know if an item could be a snack or a meal. Typically, a snack is less than 200 calories, but there really aren't any rules. If you're hungry, you may eat more. If you're not as hungry, you may eat less. The amount of food we eat is based on our age, our gender, and our activity level. And this means that the amount we eat every day can be different because our needs change. It's all very normal. Lastly, individual nutrients are also listed on a food level. The left-hand side lists out each nutrient and the right-hand side details out the percent daily value. The percentages help us understand how much of a nutrient is provided in that serving based on a 2,000 calorie diet. Some nutrients, like saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars, we want to limit, and some nutrients, like vitamins, minerals, and fiber, we want to get enough of. Okay, time for another quick practice. So let's try a couple of practice examples. First up is a food label for mint Oreo cookies. So number 1, what is the serving size? And then number 2, how many calories are in a serving? Go ahead and take a couple seconds and we'll go over the answers. So the serving size for these Oreos are 2 cookies, and the amount of calories in the serving is 140 calories. Okay, let's move on. So let's look at Flaming Hot Cheetos. Number 1, which nutrient has the highest percent daily value, and is this a nutrient that we want more or less of? Go ahead and take a second or so. Okay, so total fat has the highest percent daily value. We do want less saturated fat, but we also need fat in our diet. So it's important to know how much saturated fat is in the total fat amount. Number 2, how much percent daily value of vitamin D, calcium, and potassium does Flaming Hot Cheetos have? And are these nutrients that we want more or less of? Go ahead and take a couple seconds. Okay, the answer for these vitamins for percent daily value is 0%. We want to make sure we get enough of these nutrients. And so Flaming Hot Cheetos is obviously not providing that, and so we'll need to get it from other sources. So now that we've had some practice with the basics, let's see how we can use percent daily value to help guide our food choices. We already know that percent daily value lets us know how much of a nutrient is provided by a serving of a food in relation to a 2,000 calorie diet. It's important to understand that we don't all eat 2,000 calories a day and that this is just an average guide. Some of us eat less, some eat more. Just keep in mind that if you do eat less, your percent daily value percentages will be higher, and if you eat more, your percentages will be lower. Okay, let's look a little closer at our information. So as usual, we always begin with our serving size. Remember that this is the key to understanding how much we are eating and how many nutrients we are receiving. Now let's look at our percent daily value percentages. We can use the 5-20 rule to quickly tell if the amount of a nutrient is considered to be high, low, or a good source. If a percentage is equal to or below 5%, it is considered low in that nutrient. In this example, we can see saturated fat and cholesterol are low. If a percentage is equal to or above 20%, it is considered to be high in that nutrient. In this example, iron, calcium, and added sugars are high. If a percentage falls between 6 and 19, it is neither high nor low, and it is considered a good source. In this example, carbohydrates and fiber fall into the middle of our ruler as good sources. It is important to understand that the 520 rule does not determine if a food is good or bad. It simply tells us how much of a nutrient is provided. And this is helpful when we want to make food choices. I know that by looking at the percent daily value that a serving of this food is a good source of fiber. I also know that it is high in calcium, which is great since that's a vitamin we want to make sure we get enough of. And saturated fat is low for this food, which is also a smart choice since we want to eat foods low in saturated fat. So the last piece I want to review is visualizing the percent daily value. So using added sugars as an example, one serving provides 20% of our daily value. We still have 80% remaining for our day. And so in this pie chart, our added sugars are represented by the green and our remaining sugars are represented by the blue. So now let's see what happens if we decide to consume 3 servings of this food. We now have eaten over half of the recommended amount of added sugars, and that means that in the remaining part of our day, we have less than half to go. The 520 rule and the percent visualizing are both good ways to teach children how to use food labels to make good choices. Okay, let's do one more practice round. Using the 520 rule and this ice cream food label, we'll work through a few more questions. Number 1, what is the serving size of this ice cream? Okay, your answer is 2/3 cup. Number 2, how much percent daily value of saturated fat is in one serving of this ice cream? And what does the 520 rule tell us about the food? Okay, your answer is that the saturated fat percent daily value is 35%, and using the 520 rule lets us know the ice cream is high in saturated fat. Okay, our last question, number 3. Let's say we decide to eat 3 servings of ice cream for a total of 2 cups. How much of our percent daily value of saturated fat did we eat? Okay, our answer, 3 servings means we have to multiply 3 by 35%, which equals 105%. And that is over the suggested amount of saturated fat in one day. And this is how we use the nutrition fact label to help guide our food choices. Hopefully this video helped make sense of the food label and helps you feel comfortable teaching your kids how to do the same. If you want to check out more about food labels, head to fda.gov. Feel free to pause the video here to copy the link or find it in the description below. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.